Good evening and welcome to Let's Talk About It with Deborah and Anastasia. We are excited about our topic today. I don't know if you know, but today is National Break the Ceiling Day. And so we're going to be talking about how many individuals have consistently worked on their blueprint for success. They've taken advanced courses in high school. They've earned their bachelor's, master's, some even PhDs. They've taken advanced certifications. They've had people mentor them. They've been in the armed forces. But then they get in the workplace and guess what? Nothing they do seems to measure up. So they can sit alongside their peers and have skills and abilities that are far more outside the box than their male counterparts, but they don't get the promotions or the recognition that they're supposed to have. So that's why this day is so important. Now, it's celebrated this year on May 15th. The reason why May 15th is important is because today is the 135th day of the year. 135. According to the World Economic Forum, it would take us 135 years for women and other minority groups to get equality, the same treatment that we should, as far as our counterparts and the positions that we get based on our expertise. 135 years to catch up. I don't know about you, but I don't like that number. So we're going to talk about some things today about what does it take to break that ceiling. What do you think about all this, Anastasia? You're on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is quite a bit to take in, but it is such a needed conversation. I didn't even realize it's been 135 days already.
Yes.
That's a lot. A lot has been happening since the year has started. And even though we are almost halfway through, it is not too late to make a change. It is not too late to, swerve and start something new or start something else. And hopefully today's talk will help you to become more aware of some of the changes that need to happen, whether it's within your own life, whether it's within your workspace, whether it's within any of your spheres of the community. But change must come. Change must come. Change must come.
Yeah, most definitely.
And so when we are looking at change and we're looking at, breaking the glass ceiling and that broken glass, one thing that we must look at is the disparities. Now, this is not a word that I use commonly in conversation. So I definitely had to go and look this up. And if you're anything like me, let me tell you what it is first. Disparities are differences and inequalities between groups or individuals, often related to access to resources or opportunities. They are manifest in various areas like health, education, income, and representation. We may not use this word a lot, but this is definitely a word that we all feel. Whether it is that you are from a different community and you feel that you are looked down upon or your opportunities are lessened based on the community that you've grown up in or that you've come from, whether it is racially motivated, whether it is based in your level of education. At one point or another, we've all had a feeling of being less than. And that's a part of what this conversation is about today. So when we're thinking about disparities, let's identify a few of them. We have achievement gaps. As Ms. Deborah started there are disparities in educational achievement that can be seen across racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic groups, with some groups lagging behind in standardized test scores and graduation rates. We are looking at the number of one ethnic group that would have a higher graduation rate than another member or another ethnic group. We are looking at this by the sexes. How many men graduate high school as opposed to women? There are many disparities in education. There are disparities that go from the educational system and transfer over into the workplace. Someone that graduated with a GED as opposed to a high school diploma. Someone that graduated with a high school diploma as opposed to a diploma with honors, or they may have graduated earlier. I know that here we have pre-college classes. And so we are allowed as 12th graders to start college level classes based on your ability to pass them. Or you may be able to do an AP class while everyone else is just doing regular classes and regular courses. But your ability to do these things, to do these extra things, it also gives you more of an advantage when you're done with high school or when you get into university and college and these other environments that you're going to enter into afterward. And so the access to these things is very limited. Does your school offer AP classes? Maybe you are not someone that is academically inclined. You are an athletic person or an artistic person. Is your school more focused on academics rather than programs that are for athletes and for artists, the creatives? The fact that it is not an equal playing field is the topic of the conversation. One, not everywhere that you go, you will be able to have the same opportunities. And two, there are limitations to you being able to take advantage of opportunities based on sometimes who you are, where you're from, and many other little factors. Disparity can also come in the place of geographic disparities. As I said, rural communities may have limited access to not just education, but healthcare and specialized medical services, leading to disparities in health outcomes compared to urban areas. So in the rural communities, what we do know is common around would be a liquor store and a church. That's the two things that you will always find in a rural community, a liquor store and a church on every corner. How many health centers are you going to find in a 3 block radius? How many libraries are you going to find? How many recreational centers are you going to find? How many other community centers, gyms, all of these other things are you going to find within a 12 block radius, 12-mile radius within a rural community? And then let's think about the other end, which would be an urban community, or even more so, a higher end, a higher class, a higher socioeconomic status community. What will you find in those areas? What type of stores are you going to find in those areas? We know Walmart is everywhere. Is there a mall in your immediate rural area? No. Is there a Whole Foods and a health store in your immediate rural area? Geographic disparity, access to things is one of the things that we have to look at, that we have to consider. And this conversation is going to open your eyes to reflect on the things in your own life. It's going to help you to reflect on the communities that you're in. It's going to help you to reflect on the people that you've even surrounded yourself with. This is an important conversation. And we have to consider the gaps and the deficiencies that we are functioning in and functioning with, sometimes unknowingly or subconsciously, because we've become so used to them and they are such a norm. It's such a common thing that, we're just like, oh, well, we could never have that. Oh, we could never do this. Oh, that it's not for us. It's not for me. This conversation is to let you know that it is for you. Even if it's 135 years from now, each day that goes by is closer and closer and closer to that target of 135 years. Isn't that true, Ms. Devereaux?
Yes, most definitely it is. And I was just amazed when you began to talk about that gap and going outside of the workplace. I mean, hey, I was like, oh, it's like that in the Bahamas too, when you were saying a church and a liquor store on every corner. I thought
Yep.
that was just here.
Nope. No. You can find that.
Yeah, and that is so
They'll be
sad,
next to each other sometimes.
right? Yeah, you're right. All on top of each other. And that is so sad when you think about, again, the healthcare and those things that you need. You want to, go shopping, you don't have much time. Like you say, there's the Walmart. I can go this way to a Walmart. I can go that way to a Walmart and get there in 10, 15 minutes. But if I wanted to go to a mall, it's going to take me an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great information. So please share, share, share. These are things and conversations that need to be had. Okay, so we're going to go to our next part of talking about this ceiling, and I'm going to talk about equality. Equality. So let's talk about that for a little while. And I'm having technical difficulties, so I keep using the wrong mouse. So I'm sorry. I'm trying to use the computer, not the laptop. But I'm going to get there. Don't you worry. All right, equality. And when I started looking at the, well, it's not equality, there's lack of equality. how far it was gone back, and they started putting things in place, and we're still 135 years out if they were to correct everything today, which what's the chances of that? But back in 1963, the Equal Pay Act was enacted, and that was supposed to prohibit the discrimination as far as the wages are concerned. 1963. Then followed right behind that in 1964, and discrimination based on race, religion, and national origin was enacted. So it was just banned. You couldn't do that anymore beginning in 1964. Someone didn't get the memo. So even though these landmark legislations, wage discrimination for women, as well as microaggressions in the workplace, we still have it today. Back in 1972, former President, the late Richard Nixon, signed the Title IX Education Amendments law that prohibited gender discrimination as far as educational programs. Excuse me. However, we still see this today. You only see those AP courses that Anastasia mentioned in certain areas, certain schools, and it ends up certain people. Not everybody is privy to those courses and getting ahead of the game, and then being able to start college earlier. So even though those things happen, we're still in the same place, it seems like. On July 7th, 1981, Sandra Day O'Connor became the first woman to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court. And she served for 24 years, retiring in 2006. But it took that long for a woman that has the same background, the same education, the same skills, or better skills, to get in that position. In 1994, President Bill Clinton signed the Violence Against Women Act. Is that any better than it was 50, 60 years ago? We still see violence, not only at home, but in the workplace. So we're still seeing domestic violence and gender-related violence. When are we going to reach that ceiling? When? In 2007, Nancy Pelosi became the first female Speaker of the House. You mean to tell me that that was the first year that a female was qualified to sit in the House? That's just, I mean, what can I say? It just leaves you speechless at times to think that we have that type of bias. So you don't only have to worry about age, where you live, you have to worry about your skin complexion as well as your gender. Okay, March 18th, 2018, Marcy Kaptur, a congresswoman, served the 9th District of Ohio. She became the longest serving woman in the U.S. House of Representatives. Sad. July 26, 2019, Hillary Clinton, most of you know this is. She became the first woman that was nominated for President of the United States. We can run corporations when allowed, different organizations. We have the same degrees, MBAs, doctorate degrees, but she was the first to even be nominated as President of the United States, and we still have not made it. We got a little bit closer, January 20th, 2021, when Kamala Harris became the first woman and the first woman of color to become a vice president here in the United States. And Anastasia can tell us about the Bahamas. But you see, That glass ceiling is still there. It's right where you can see it, but you can't get to it, you can't break it. This is a conversation that needs to be had. And I don't know when I pushed that button, but sorry. But that's a conversation that needs to be had. So we're going to move on. I'm doing so well.
Okay. And what I did take note of was the workplace and the disparities there, the huge gaps and differences there. I did not realize that you guys had such a big difference in your AP programs also, because I know that that's a huge thing here. There are certain schools that will only be able, I mean, that will offer them, but there are many, many others that do not. And we're going to move over into fair advancement. Because after you're done with high school, after you're done with college, you're going to enter the workplace and you're going to need a job somewhere unless you entirely plan to work for yourself from the very beginning. And so, in order for there to be fair advancement in the workplace, it means that you've ensured everyone has equal opportunities to progress in their careers, regardless of background or protected characteristics. Sounds like quite a lot. I know. This involves establishing clear objective criteria for promotions and providing resources for professional development. This also requires fostering a culture of fairness, transparency, and inclusivity, which is the exact opposite of what we've been talking about today. It is the opportunity for everyone to be able to apply for the promotion. It is the opportunity for everyone to be able to get that raise, and the same raise, as a matter of fact, because we can also look at the separation of pay between men and women. This year, 2025 in America, women earn 83.2% of what men earn for full-time work, which is actually a slight decrease from 83.8%. So slightly better, but not very much, you know, that 0.6% from last year to this year. We're getting closer to that 135 years. But if we're looking at fair advancement, we're looking at pay scales. We're looking at encouraging mutual respect. Ms. Deborah gave the examples of the laws that have been passed for equality in the workplace for men and women. But we all know that it is typically management that sets the culture, the pace, the progress in any work environment. And so if your work environment, and I'm choosing my words carefully, if your work environment is not one that fosters mutual respect, then that is going to become evident throughout the rest of the workspace. If your work environment does not model correct behavior being integrity, if you do not work in a space that values integrity, that holds integrity to the high extent and places it on a pedestal, then that behavior is going to trickle down through to the rest of the company. Communication with employees, which is transparency. In order for a promotion to be had, a raise to be had, it cannot be that only two persons know what the criteria is for this raise or for this promotion. No, If I'm going to apply for the promotion, then I should know in its entirety, one, what this job is going to entail, but two, what is required for me to be able to do this job. And when you've outlined that these are the requirements, then you stick with that. It will not be that, okay, I have a bachelor's degree, I have 10 years experience, I have been the acting supervisor for the past 4 years at your company. But someone that has less qualifications than me from an external source who is applying for the same job, because he is a man and a male, and it is your personal bias that a male will be able to handle the position better, that you're going to hire him. What makes you think I can't do it? Not because I haven't been able to do it, because I've been doing it for the past 4 years. It's not because I'm not qualified to do it, because I hold a bachelor's degree and 10 years of experience. So you will pass me up for this position based on the fact that I am a female. That's not okay. It's absolutely not okay. And I know 135 years sounds like a long ways away, but with each day and with each step and with each inequality that we are willing to stand up against, it gets us just a little bit closer. And so when we're looking at fair advancement, we're also looking at an appeals process. Does your work environment have an appeals process? Or is it that your supervisor has the last say? No one goes against the supervisor. That's why he does what he does. No one goes against the manager, because upper levels will always believe the manager rather than line staff. Is no one going to go up against your boss because they are the boss? And so there's nobody else to speak to other than them. Well, actually, you can go to court. You can definitely go that route. There's always someone to answer to. There's always somewhere that you can go. There's always a resolve that you can find. It's just a matter of figuring out where that is. I don't want to reference 50 Shades of Grey, but the boss's boss may be where you need to go. That may be who you need to find. But if you don't speak up, if you don't let it be known that you're not okay with these things, then it will continue on. What I find that we tend to do is, when it's an environment that we no longer want to be in, or we don't feel like we can advance in, we're not comfortable in, we'll just leave the job. But if you leave that job, you're still leaving that system in place. And the next person that comes behind you is still going to end up coming into that system and being victimized and being mistreated and putting their mental health at risk until they decide either to make a change or they're just going to leave also. That doesn't get us closer to the 135 years. It doesn't decrease that time. So we want to encourage you today. If you find yourself in a situation where you need to speak up and you need to stand out, do not be afraid. If you need to do your research first, then do that. But fair advancement is everybody's right. Fair paychecks, and even though we have that 83.2%, but fair paychecks, we can fight for those. An appeal system, an appeals process, we can try to get those implemented. Fairness and integrity amongst employees and staff, we can try to get those implemented. Mutual respect in the workplace, we can try to get those things implemented. And all of those different components and those different pieces, they come together to create fair advancement. What are your thoughts, Ms. Deborah?
I agree wholeheartedly. I was just sitting here thinking, you said that oftentimes individuals will stay on that job until they just like, hey, I'm not going to take this anymore. Then they will leave and get employment somewhere else, but they're leaving that whole environment there for others to have to put up with. And I thought about the other thing that we do oftentimes is because we have the same education, uh, qualities, the skills as that other person. They promote them a lot of times or pay them more. We stay there and we continue to give 110%. So we end up reporting to that person that has the higher title, that has the higher pay while we're doing their work. And so I say that to say, yeah, we need to speak up and say something. You do your research and you present it in a professional way, but you need to say something. That was great and great information that you brought out. Thank you for that. Okay, we're going to go into our last one, which is skills and qualifications. Skills and qualifications. So, as I mentioned earlier, often, the majority of the time, the females that can't get up there to that ceiling, the other oppressed groups, you have the same education, you are higher education, your skills are phenomenal. So what else can you do? You can, so if you find yourself in a place where you need to have that argument or that debate about why you deserved that promotion or that pay increase, what other things can you do in the meantime to make sure that you know that you're ready? What about those leadership skills? Those are essential for everyone. But if you know that you are ready to break that glass ceiling, never become stagnant. Always be a lifelong learner. Always have a little bit more sitting over there in your success toolkit than your counterparts. So get those, if there's extra management classes or whatever there is, take them, have them in your toolkit. And you may say, well, why do I have to do that? You don't have to, but you always want to be your best. You're always already equal or above, but it does not hurt to have so much more. And so you have the ammunition that you need for yourself and for futures coming behind you. Decision making. Most females already have better decision making, right? Because sometimes that what is it? I'm not even trying to say it. Those male hormones get in the way, and they think, oh, because I said it, that's what it is. But what are you basing your decisions on? Are you making good, sound decisions that are good for the organization? Or are you just saying what you think sounds good? And if you say it, then it needs to be done. That's something to think about. But there are some key leadership skills that should be focused on. And strategic thinking, that's one. You're going to anticipate what's going to happen. So you're not going to be, going with the status quo, but you're going to be thinking strategically what is going on in the world, what's going on with technology, and you're going to be thinking ahead. Do some emotional intelligence, navigate those complex areas. Sometimes you have to sit and think, This is where our company is. This is where our organization is. This is where my skills are and everybody else's. But where will they try to take the questions or the projects when it comes to me to try to prove that I'm not worthy or I can't do the job? They will give you something that, excuse me, is so much more complex than they will give your counterpart. So you want to be able to just blow them away when they come at you that way. Again, you shouldn't have to, but you and I know that you are so much better. You're equal when it comes to the brain department. You're in the front of the line. You got it going on. You are willing to be proactive, resilient, have consistency, go out and do some of those things. And resilience, that's a good one. You can bounce back. You know, a lot of times, you know, and I don't want to go here, but a lot of times we hear how when our counterparts get into the complex positions and they can't handle it, something goes wrong or there's scandal in the department, that's when they get really depressed, lost, and you know what happens then. So I'm not going to even say it, but you know, you think along the lines of mental health. Women are so much more stronger. We bounce back better. So know that you have some extra things in your toolkit. Don't forget that. You're really blessed. So you know that even though you have those things, you can always level up. So you can participate in those leadership training programs. You can, you know, put in, ask to go away for these camps that they've been sending your counterparts to that you didn't know about. You know, you've been missing someone. Well, where are they? They actually send them to universities to get, what do you call it, accelerated or, I can't think of the word I'm trying to think of. They get these programs that would probably take the average person a couple of years. They send them away to these camps and they can get the information in, I'll say 3 to 6 months. So you miss them and you wonder where they are. They have been sent off behind the trenches to get some information so that they can be ahead of you. So, hey, you ask the questions too. I heard about this exciting program that is helping corporations. And you're not going to say it's going to help you. It's helping corporations around the world. And I have got the information. I would like for you to look over it. And then can we meet again next week to talk about this? Because this is something that I want to do to take us to the next level. Be prepared. Level up. And then, as I mentioned earlier, always be a continuous learner. Sometimes when our counterparts get into those positions, then they're satisfied. I'm making 6 or 7 figures. I got my nice house. My wife doesn't have to work. I'm in the country club and all of that. But you continue to be a continuous learner. So you're always a step ahead. We got this. We're going to break this ceiling, and it's not going to take us 135 years. Right, Anastasia?
No, no, no. We are well on our way to getting this ceiling broken. Let's say 130.
I'll take it.
But even, we are kidding. We are kidding. But even just a little progress is still progress. Every step in the right direction is still a step in the right direction. No matter if the shoe is a size 3 or a size 12, it's still a step in the right direction. And so when you consider your work environment, your home environment, your communities, think about all of the things that we talked about today. Think about how you can make little changes in the areas of concern for you. You may not have been concerned about it before you saw this, but now that you're concerned, now that you've been awakened, now that you see the possibilities of what you can influence, go ahead, plan your steps, and then get out there and take action.
All right, action, action, action. And just think about it. What is holding people back? We need more of see something, do something. More people need to unify and work for change. Is it the government's issue? Are we going to take it on? Do people need to stop talking, taking the leftovers and being left behind? Think that's a big one. Stop taking the leftovers and being left behind. You have been created to be the best that you can be. You are equipped to do it. Do what you have to do to try to get to that ceiling and break it. We have more single mothers than ever before who are responsible for raising their families alone. I used to hear in my early days in corporations, oh, that's a man. He has a family to take care of. Hey, I'm a woman. I have a family to take care of. There is no difference today. We're not back in the 50s and 60s. So our single mothers, they need to earn and provide for their families just like everybody else. People sometimes do better when they know better. So we hope that you will share this information. So maybe it's some things that you didn't know either, but share, share, share. We have to make a change, and hopefully we don't have to wait 135 years. I won't be here, but I'm leaving behind children and grandchildren, so I want a change. Ladies and others, you are being cheated. Don't continue to take it. And with that, thank you again for tuning in. Please check out Moms on a Mission, Raising Sons for Success. That's Saturday, the 17th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 8:30 Central Time. We have Mom Jocelyn Charles, Mom Brittany Clark, Mom Tanya Presley, and Mom Deborah Smith. So we're going to be talking about boys to men. So check us out on Saturday. But remember, building your best life is our business. That's not a slogan, it's our commitment. We love you. Be blessed, stay safe, and come on, ladies. Right, Anastasia?
That's right. Absolutely.
All right, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your day, and we hope to see you Saturday. Bye-bye.